It I've mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't even know how I feel at this point.
My head hurts. I'm way too dumb for it. I'm just here. I'm here. But mm, mm, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seriously,
Yeah.
there's too much going on. There's too much going on. I'm tired. There's too much
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah, I only watched it twice. I don't think I could have watched it one more time.
No, no,
It was
at all.
and because there was like 30 scenes, 35
So
or something.
many. I'm like, how am I meant to? How am I? How? I don't know. I'm definitely might need your help in like the way they integrated scenes, from the fade ins and the fade outs, or like yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll figure this out. But in terms of recapping this shit, I don't know. I
Yeah.
just hope everyone follows along.
I think we'll figure it out together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you watching this? Are you watching this? Yeah. Are you watching this? No. You need to get with it. Are you watching this? We on a TV shit. Are you watching this? You don't wanna miss. Are you watching this? Stop canceling our shit.
Welcome to the Are You Watching This podcast, the podcast where we talk about TV shows you should be watching. This is a recap episode of Severance. My name is Ellen E, and I'm lost. I don't even, there was nothing I wanted to, yeah, they got it, whatever. And you are?
I'm Chelsea F, and I've never donated blood before.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I also wanted to say though that like, okay, I'm confused. Whatever.
Yeah. I'm like, is that cheating? But truly I am. Yeah. And there was nothing funny about this episode. I mean, there were like cute moments, but there was nothing, you know, funny that I wanted to recall back for the
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. That is very true.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna start off.
Yeah.
I hope you all follow along as best as you can in this recap episode, because I surely did not follow along in the episode in itself. So we start off with Gemma at the school walking down, and we see that she's at the school her and Mark both taught at. And it's our first look at Gemma doing more than just serving face. She's in motion. Did you have feelings were you like, I mean, you predicted, let's talk about it. Well, no, you didn't predict. You saw that someone said it was going to be a flashback episode.
No, I mean, I said it was going to be a flashback episode because somebody
Okay.
pointed out that it was the university that they taught at.
Okay.
And so I was like, ooh, I bet we're going to get a flashback
Episode. So when you saw that first scene, were you like, nailed it? Yeah.
Yeah. And somebody also tweeted, they're like, oh, good, we're going to see the goddamn sun for the first time in this show.
Yeah. Even though wasn't as bright, but it was cute. It was good being outside.
Springtime.
Yeah. Then we see her. She's walking towards a blood bank, or maybe it just cuts to a scene of the blood bank where she's seated next to the most handsome version of Adam Scott I've ever seen. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. The haircut did everything it was meant to. And they're donating blood, and Mark strikes a convo with her, asking what she's reading. And I wrote in my notes, this is why it's important to read in public, because it leads to classic meet cutes that I love. So she responds, there's heavy flirting, eye contact, and he is enamored. And it's just like, okay, who are you? And she introduces herself as Gemma. And then we cut to a scene where Gemma is getting blood drawn now in a different space. There's a lot of, directing. This was, maybe I should shout out the director of this episode before, Jessica Lee
I think so.
Gange.
Yeah.
It was her first time directing. It was her directorial debut, and there was a lot of technical shit happening, and I really loved it. It was beautiful, but I do not know any of the terms, so I'm going to butcher explaining everything that was taking place. Okay. So that scene from the blood bank cuts to Gemma getting blood drawn, and she's in a different clothing. It's kind of looks like Lumen-esque, like something. She's like a subject of some sort. She's lost in thought, and the lady drawing her blood asks Gemma, "Where did you go?" And then we start with another flashback. Well, we get another flashback. What did I write here? That doesn't make sense. Okay. I guess it's just, are they in their house?
Yeah, there's like a quick flashback of them in their house, like in bed together, kind
Yeah.
of just cuddling up.
Yeah. Being intimate. And it's very close up. The scene,
Yeah.
of the intimacy is close up. And then we go back to, then we go to Devin and Dr. R. That's where the last episode left off, with Mark on the floor, right? And somehow they have managed to move him to a couch. Do you believe they were strong enough to do that together?
Maybe,
Okay.
but it probably was not pretty. They probably dropped him and hit his head again
Right.
in the process.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think Dr. Ragabi looks pretty strong, though.
She does. For me, it would be Devin, but maybe she was like powered by adrenaline with her brother being unconscious, and so yeah, super strength and all that comes into play. Devin is super stressed, super like, what the fuck is going on? Dr. R reveals to her that Mark has been reintegrating, and the work has to go on. Devin is like, fuck no, this stops now. Dr. R is like, nothing kind of vibes. And then reveals to her that Gemma is alive. And that's where Devin like sits down like, fuck. And then we get the opening credits. Did you have anything to add to that Devin and Dr. R interaction?
Yes, and then I had one other like little thing I wanted to share, but
Yeah.
I just wrote down that like because last episode we discussed like we think that they were going to take him to the hospital, and I was like, well, okay, obviously they decided not to.
Yeah.
And Devin does ask Dr. R. She's like, "Are you even a doctor?"
Yeah,
and which Dr. Ragabi does not answer.
I actually remember hearing that and laughing and thinking about you. I was like, Chelsea will get a kick out of that.
Yeah, I was just. I mean, Devin's asking the right questions.
Yeah, a question that should be asked, honestly. And I'm surprised no one has so far. That Mark didn't even ask it, to be honest.
Yeah, and the other thing I was going to say, just because the opening scene reminded me, it was very cute. And Drake and I we kind of taught at the same university at the same time. I was teaching biology and he was finishing his master's. And so like I would see him on campus and he would come to my office sometimes, and it was just cute.
Oh my gosh. I did not know that was your origin story.
Well, that was after we had started dating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
But it was in our early years of dating.
That's still the cutest thing ever. Oh.
Yeah.
That's really sweet. That's really sweet. Being in the same space as the person you're dating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was fun. It just reminded me of that.
Yeah, love that. So then after the opening credits, we are back to Gemma, where the scene takes us through where she's being given some sort of physical, but again, it's like clear she's like a test subject. The lady, we don't get her name right. She's like a nurse who's taken down her vitals and all the shit. Asks her if she's eaten, if she's read, if she's done her calisthenics. And then she asks her a question about the mudslide. If you were to be in a mudslide, what was it? Would you be afraid of suffocating or drowning?
Mm-hmm.
And Gemma responds drowning. And I agreed with her. What about you? Yeah.
I'm afraid of both. I don't I don't know. I wouldn't be probably actually suffocating just because I'm very claustrophobic.
Yeah. I feel like drowning would imply the suffocating though,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, they kind of seemed like the same thing. But
Yeah.
I'm wondering why they asked her that question.
I agree. Watching it the second time, I wondered because, I'm jumping ahead, but we discovered that there's so many rooms she goes into and there's different experiences in all these rooms. I wondered if one of the rooms included a mudslide situation and they were trying
Yeah,
to figure
it
out.
it definitely was like they were assessing her fears.
Yeah. Yeah. Then the blonde. Wait, I did ask if we got her name right. Did we? Did we ever get
Yeah,
it
I
right?
don't think so.
Okay, gotcha. So I called her the blonde lady in my notes, so that's what I'm going to refer to her on this episode. The blonde lady asks Gemma how many rooms she's been on that day. She says 6, and then she gets up to get dressed. And this moment, like where her clothes are set up, the closet, was very Barbie, but like in a dark way. Then when Gemma sees the clothes, she says shit. And again, watching it back the second time, I feel like every clothes that appears for that day, like tells her what room she's going into. So her responding to shit with those particular clothes to me, watching it the second time was like, oh, she hates that room like a lot. Anyway, so then she gets dressed. Her and blonde lady walk through the hallways. And in the scene, we see that they're definitely in Lumen, like in a Lumen building, because the hallways are very similar to the MDR floor. But there's a lot of rooms. And as we're taken through their path towards the room she's going into, we see the names of each, well, not each room, some rooms they decide to show us. There's Allentown, there's Cairns, there's Drainsville. Did you realize as we're walking through the hallway with them that they were names of cities?
Well, and they're names of the files that the MDR has been working on.
Yeah. Okay, which one did you realize it was first?
Probably Allentown, because
Okay.
that's the one that's on Mark's trophy.
Yeah. So you connected Allentown to Mark right away. Okay, cool.
Only because when I rewatched the first season, I like wrote it down. I was like, this has to be important.
Yeah. Yeah, it did come back. So then she stops at Wellington, the room Wellington. For me, it was Cairns and Wellington. I was like, okay, these are names of like cities. Side question: do you think there's a Lumen office in all these cities, or are they just named after? You know how we discovered there's Lumen not headquarters, but places all over the world.
Yeah, I'm still very confused by the file names and the room names because I don't understand how they're associated with what's going on in the room
Yeah,
and why they're named that way. I mean, yeah, maybe it is location. Like that would be what makes the most sense.
yeah.
But even then I'm like I don't understand it.
We don't know now. Yeah, I agree. I just thought it was important because they really did show us the rooms that they wanted to show us. I guess the names of the rooms. They step up Wellington, and Gemma goes in, and she switches. And when she switches, it's an any. We haven't. It's not Miss. What's her name? Miss Casey. Did you realize it wasn't Miss Casey right away?
No, I wouldn't say right away. I think the more rooms she went in, I
Yeah.
realized that like it was a different version of herself in each of the rooms, or at least it definitely wasn't Miss Casey and it wasn't Gemma.
Yeah. So she goes into this room, she switches. It's another innie within her, I guess, that comes out into this room, the Wellington room. And we also see the guy who we got to see the bottom half of in the before the opening credits of the last episode. The creepy guy with the dental
Tools.
Tools, yes. And this room is actually like a dentist office. It's set up that way. Gemma's innie is terrified, doesn't want to be in there, and asks him if they have to do what they have to do that day, or if they could not do what they have to do that day. And she sits down. He goes to his dental tools and takes a look into her teeth, and then we're taken back to the hallway, and we're back at it being Gemma.
Okay. So I want to talk about the guy
Okay.
that we see. We get a face reveal, and he has like the creepiest blue eyes. And I don't. That
Yes.
has to be, and he kind of looks like Kier. So there has to be some kind of connection there, right?
Yes, 100%. I think so.
But his name's like Dr. Mayer or Mauer.
Mauer.
Mauer, sure.
Yeah.
I can't read, so.
It's all right. I just finished watching the second rewatch, so it's fresh in my mind.
And I'm trying to think, is he even a dentist?
I don't think so.
Like, is he? So he's just going in there, just fucking up her mouth.
I think so.
And,
yeah.
And obviously, that's too where the dental stuff that he picked up was for that room.
Yes. Yeah. From the O&D. Yeah. Then as they're walking, as Blonde Lady and Gemma are walking back to, Gemma's room from the Wellington room, we see the Cold Harbor room. And then we are back with Devin looking over Mark in Mark's house as Mark is laying down on the couch. And she is worried, looking over him, and then asks him, "What are you thinking about?" Something like that. Or what are you thinking, or what's going on? And we're taking into a memory of Mark with very cool, again, directing happening as we go into that scene. And it's Mark walking into Gemma's office following up from their date. Do you think it was their first date?
The first time I watched it, or initially when the scene started, I thought it was a first date.
Yeah.
Because of kind of the little banter that was going on. But then by the end of the scene, they seemed very close.
Yeah.
Already. And so it felt like maybe it'd been like their third or fourth date.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. But by the end of the scene, did you notice that it was like a different memory?
From the ant farm one?
Yeah.
What?
I'm pretty sure.
What do you mean it was a different memory?
Because his clothes is different.
I didn't even notice that.
Second rewatch. I'm pretty sure, or else I'm tripping, but I'm pretty sure. Because I was like, how did we go from Ant Farm to the crib in one scene?
Oh, I see. Yeah. So you're saying when they cut to and he's like at the desk and she's standing behind him.
Yes.
Yeah, I registered that was a different memory.
Okay.
I thought you meant like in the office, in her office, the whole thing. There was like multiple memories.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, how did I miss that?
No. Okay. Yes. So then we find out he got her an ant farm. And they had this cute little flirt. It was very adorable. Did you have thoughts about the ant farm?
I thought it was cute.
Yeah. Do you think it had anything? Was it foreshadowing with? I know you mentioned before, like the hallways of Lumen were like a rat race situation. I've seen theories online about it being the ant farm, like an ant farm situation after this episode. Do you think there's something to that, or?
Yeah, for sure. Because if you think about all the people that work at Lumen, they're just like worker ants.
Yeah.
Not having very much control over what they actually do, and which is often how ant colonies work.
Yeah, I agree.
I just don't know who the queen is in the scenario. I guess the head of Lumen, Helena's father, or is it Kier? Like, because they talk about Kier as if he's still around. I don't think he is, right? But like,
yeah, I don't think so.
So I guess he's still the queen ant.
Yeah, and then I don't. Again, we're just gone with it. It hurts. My head hurts. So. So then from the ant farm, that scene, does it end or does it just fade into another?
It
memory.
just fades into another. And
Okay.
I didn't write, and some of them I wrote down like how they transition. I
Yeah.
didn't write down for that one though.
Okay. I had written that it fades into another memory, and this time they're in his office or in their house.
Yeah, it looked like it was in their house,
Yeah.
but like at his office in the
In
house.
their house, yes. And they're getting all, well, she's getting all, cute with him, handsy with him. And then she notices, and he's trying to do work, and she notices a like a crib box.
Mhm.
It's still in its box. And she was like, why, why? But then I think this scene just sets up the fact that they were interested in having a baby.
Mhm.
Um, and then we're all then taken into a montage of their relationship and their house and the outside, and it's very airy. The lighting in these scenes is very airy. It's very cute. It's also very like reminded me of foreign films.
Mhm. Mhm.
I didn't look up Jessica's heritage, but I wonder if she is not American because yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it reminded me of the visuals reminded me of in Virgin Suicides. They have these very like grainy little clips of the girls, but that movie
Yeah.
is very sad.
Okay.
So then the montage aspect though reminded me of the end of La La Land, where there's like
Mm,
kind of the what if montage. And it's like
okay.
this very like happy, joyful scenario.
Yeah.
And so I liked it a lot. And I think it really showed too how Mark and Jem's house, they have like this very warm, cozy, cute house that they've built together that
Yes.
is full and it's cluttered with books
Yeah.
versus Mark's home now, which is very plain, very generic, very
Yeah.
empty.
Yes, I agree with that. Oh, that's a great thing to catch because yeah, the Gemma and Mark house looked very lived in,
Hmm.
very cozy, and I feel like the Lumen house that he's in, he's not really living. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that. And that montage of Gemma and Mark being all cutesy and going through, I guess, months of years of their relationship ends with a scene of with Rickon, Devin, Gemma, and Mark having dinner or lunch together, a meal together. And it's very cute. They're all conversating with I don't think conversating is the word, my bad. They're all having conversation with each other. And there's banter back and forth. I felt like in this scene, okay, let's talk about Rickon in the scene.
Hmm.
Well, Rickon and Mark. I felt like Mark was more charmed with Rickon in this scene. Would you
Hmm.
say so?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think so. And I don't know. There's definitely, I mean, obviously, Mark after Jim's death is very sad and depressed and he gets a little, snappy with his sister, but
Yeah,
it feels like something else must have happened between him and Rickon
I
where
agree.
because they just don't really get along at this point
No, you
or
would.
like after Jim's death.
Yes, I agree. You would think like they had no relationship before
Hmm.
Gemma's death, but it's clear that they all did together. So that was cool that they added for us to see in a flashback. And then in this flashback, Devin goes to pour wine, and Gemma over like pour wine in Gemma's glass, and Gemma puts her hand over the glass, and it was like indicative of her being like, I can't drink because I may be pregnant. And I loved every single acting choice made here by Dishon and who plays Gemma and Jen who plays Devin because it was so beautiful. It was so it felt like womanhood in a way.
Yeah, they just because they just kind of glanced at each other
Yeah.
she was like and kind of whispered like, oh my god, no way, and they just exchanged this very loving look to each other. Like Devin
Yeah.
was so excited for her and for Mark and like what that was leading to.
Yes, I agree. And yeah, it was very sweet and sisterly. And it also then kind of solidified for me when we had that scene a couple of episodes ago with Mark and Devin and what's it called, the like a cafe, and
Hmm.
then
Pips.
yes, and Pips, and Devin was like, she was family to me too. This whole scene kind of proved that for the
Hmm.
audience, or at least the relationship we saw that they share
Hmm.
together. And also, I truly believe Dishin will get an acting nomination for the scene alone.
Yeah, I'm gonna say now because I mean, there's more scenes that we'll talk about that really show this, but
Mm-hmm.
her, we've been talking about actors having to play multiple characters and being able to notice those differences. And I
Yes.
think that it is very subtle, but her face conveys so much.
Yeah,
And there's just it's amazing the way that she does it.
I agree. It's beautiful the way she does it too, because
Hmm.
it's as you said, so subtle, but delivers everything that you need to know about her or the person she is in those moments.
Hmm.
Then that scene ends with the dinner scene or lunch scene, the meal scene, ends with a shot of Devon's. I thought this transition was cool, so I wrote down it in detail. Uh, the camera shot like stops at Devon's like eye section. If you see me on video, it's like this. And then it fades away to black, and then it comes back to her eye section, but it's clear it's in a different moment in time with the coloring of the scenes. And she's crying, and then it pans out, and we see that she's in a bathroom, and then we see blood dripping down her legs, and it's clear. Well, I feel like what the scene is conveying is that she's miscarrying the pregnancy that they had. And I thought the way the scene was directed and shown, I not to, you know, box genders and what we are all capable of doing, but in this scene I was like, oh, it's so clear that a woman directed this
Hmm.
thing.
Yeah. And I think I mean, that scene was so sad.
Yes.
I think it showed obviously the pain that she was going through. And I think it showed like it at this point in their relationship, because we see it kind of, there's different scenes that aren't quite as sweet. Mark is
Yeah.
like, there for her immediately as soon as he sees her, and he like runs up to her and like is checking on her and making sure she's okay,
Yeah.
which was like even more heartbreaking, but so sweet.
Yes.
And even in this scene, the lighting in their house is still so warm,
Yeah.
even though this is like a sad scene, which is just such a sharp contrast to the rest of the show.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, you're right. Wow. Of that observation. Well, maybe I should watch it for a third time.
I think it might break her brain.
I think so too. And then also in that same light of, a lot of beautiful directing things happening, we then get a really crazy directing thing happening after.
Hmm.
So Mark comes in and consoles her. She turns on the shower to like, she's devastated. She's lost the baby. He comes in. And then we are taken to another scene of this is where I was like, I don't even know how I'm gonna explain this.
Okay, so it's very interesting the way they did it, and apparently online was saying it was not CGI, so
Yes.
it's all film work. It obviously wasn't one scene or like one shot, but so
Yeah.
Mark's in the shower with her, and so the water's falling, and the
Yeah.
camera's on Gemma, and you see the water is like starting to reverse, like it's going up
Yes.
instead of down, and then it pans to Mark, and
Mm-hmm.
since he's also in the shower, the same thing's happening,
Mm-hmm.
and then it darkens a little bit, and then it's still on Mark's face, but
Mm-hmm.
now it's Mark and MDR, and it's the
Mm-hmm.
scene where Miss Casey comes up to him and is like, "I'm here to observe Helly for the day,"
Yes. Yes.
and then the transition is it's the camera like flips, so it's looking up at the ceiling of MDR, and all the
Yes.
lights slowly start to go out.
Yeah. And it's like we're going down.
Yes, we go down and like through this tunnel, and we follow all these wires into a different room.
Yes. Thank you. Chelsea got us there, you guys.
But I actually had to pause it several times to be like, okay, this is what happened. This is what happened because there so much happened within like 30 seconds.
Yeah. You know what trips me up? It's that from the shower to the MDR room with Miss Casey being like, I'm here to observe Helly. But I guess they needed to. I don't even know what they needed to, but they did what they had to do.
Yeah, because I think what they were trying to show, or what I got from it was we're in Mark's brain more or less. And so this
Yeah.
is him processing all these memories and he's like slowly putting together, he's finally fully integrating. And so it's the
Yeah.
way his brain's connecting all these stories
Yeah.
or all these memories together. And
Mm,
so I think it's kind of to emphasize like a dreamlike state where you're going kind of from one thing to the
to
next and
another.
you don't really
Okay, I
have.
get you. Like Innie's Mark's memory and Addie Mark's memory
Mhm.
combining how, okay. Oh, yeah, I agree with that, especially with the ending of the episode.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, so then we are taken down and with the shot, and we are on a floor that's below the MDR floor, and we see a new man, and he's kind of observing Mark, and then we hear Mr. Drummond ask how the severance barriers are holding up or if they're working. And he's talking to Dr. Maurer. And then there's another really cool like shot of this floor, and we see the person behind the computer kind of looks like Mark, and then we're taken through the room in like a loop, and we see the other people. Basically every innie on the MDR floor has a sort of kind of look-alike below them, observing or monitoring what the work they're doing.
I tweeted that because somebody's like, "What does this room even do?" And I said, "They MDR," and then as a joke, I said there's another MDR that MDRs that MDR because it's kind of what I mean. They're
God.
observing like what they are doing. They're
Yeah.
not actually doing any of the refinement,
No.
but they're watching them doing the refinement.
Yeah.
I don't quite know why they have to watch them, but
Yeah, the purpose of the monitoring, I agree. But, whatever.
it's weird. Why it's not for us to ask these questions.
It's
You know
not. It's not at
why?
all.
There's no need.
No. We're definitely not getting paid by Ben and Dan and Apple TV, so uh so then we got that really cool shot, and it was really cool. There's this, I guess someone also tweeted it, with Kier and the twin story we had at the Orpo episode,
Mm.
that this was another example of twins below them. I don't know what that meant. I just thought that was a cool tweet. So, I thought I'd
Food for
mention
thought.
it. Yeah. I was like, when I read it. So hopefully people are like, when they hear me say it. We then are taken.
Well, hold on.
Go ahead.
We have to talk about how'd you say it, Dr. Maurer?
Maurer, yeah.
Maurer. Him and Mr. Drummond are talking, and Maurer's like, or Mr. Drummond's like, "You've grown fond of her," and he's like, "Yeah, she's grown fond of me too." And I'm like, "No, she hasn't."
At
And
all.
I think, and I'm going to mention this every time I see it, I think he's doing some funny business to her in those rooms.
Oh God.
Did you not pick up on that?
No, I 100% did, especially in the later. Yeah, I did.
I was like,
I'm laughing at the phrasing of the funny business, though.
he's doing something.
No, and so funny business is making light of the awful shit he is actually doing to her. So yeah, I agree.
Sexually, I want to make sure it's clear that
Yes,
I think he's doing inappropriate things with her.
I agree with you. And he's
there is something off about that man.
Honestly, I don't know if it's like
the eyes.
It's the eyes. It's like the plastic surgery. Also, I guess, why does he look different every time? Is it because he's going in these different rooms and he has to look different for her?
I don't even understand why he's involved in all these rooms anyway.
I agree with that too. Uh-huh.
Like, why him? Why don't they change it up a little bit? Why
Yeah.
is it this doc?
This man.
We have all these doctors running around, and I don't think any of them are
And we
doctors.
have not seen any certification.
The only people that we know are actually probably doctors are Gemma and Mark.
Yeah, that's true. That's hilarious and terrifying. God.
Yep.
Okay, so then we are taken to, let's see, where was I? Uh, okay, yes. We're taken we're taken back to where Jem is being held at, and she is walking down the hallway again, and she enters another room. This room takes us to a flashback memory of Gemma and Mark entering a fertility clinic. And in this quick, you know, little scene, it's not, I guess not quick, but as they're sitting down, we see Dr. Weirdo, Dr. Mauer, in the background. I didn't see. People of Twitter saw, and then
Yeah, I forgot
I
about
mentioned
that.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And anyways, it's not a big deal. He's just in, I think it's foreshadowing, it's he's in that background for a reason, to make it clear it's a lumen clinic, fertility clinic. And we see a quick, oh wait, oh, and then they sit down. Mark is trying to be reassuring about, them being in a fertility clinic, I guess going through IVF or getting help with getting pregnant. And then from this scene, we get a we go to I mean I get we get a quick flash to Gemma alone, and again in the, what's it called, lumen floor that she's being held in. And then from that scene we go to Mark there. Wait, but between that, again, that, yes, Chelsea can
Okay,
take
so
over.
first of all, I called. So there's outside Gemma, like when she's with Mark.
Hmm.
Then there's inside sad Gemma, and that's like when she's alone by herself in the apartments.
Yes,
But then there's other inside Gemma when she's severed.
in those rooms,
Yes.
in the rooms. Okay.
Okay, but yeah, so they go back to the fertility clinic, and then they do all these glitchy frames.
Yeah.
So, and in the frames, there's a lot that goes on, but these were the main things that I saw. We see the testing floor,
Yep.
we see the exports elevator,
Yep.
we see Mark making the tree out of clay during his wellness session from season 1.
Mm-hmm.
We see outside in the winter, there's like barren trees and snowbanks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we see a lumen hallway that is, so then it ends with it being a lumen hallway. It kind of looks like MDR. I'm assuming it's an MDR hallway.
Yeah.
And it is, but it's half of their house. So, you know how, like in the last scene, they put the MDR kitchenette in Mark's kitchen.
Yes.
They put like this bathroom door on one of the panels and like half of a cupboard or like a drawer.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
It was a lot, and I try to catch whatever those
Scenes.
yeah.
Yeah. Those. Yeah.
There's a lot of them though. I'm sure I
There
missed
was.
something, and I don't know what I was supposed to get from it.
I don't know. I mean, also at some point, it's like if you are blipping or switching through those kind of shots so quickly, it's like, are you wanting the audience to really get it right away? No, you'll reveal what's important in the midst of all that shit. Yes.
And again, I think if we're thinking of it in context of Mark processing all this stuff, he's probably just kind of like, those are just memories that he's going through. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. So then we end in those flashbacks, I guess, at a scene with Mark helping Gemma in in their bathroom at home with an IVF shot. And that was a really cute interaction. I need to know who wrote this episode because it was cute. It was realistic to me.
It was. And if this episode wasn't so sad, Adam Scott in the scene was just, he just turned it on again.
He really did. He
I
really did.
I
I
kept
was
seeing
like,
these
oh,
clips and I was like, ooh. I was like, is
yeah.
this about to be a really spicy episode? And then I was like, oh no, it's really sad.
Honestly, the next thing he does, he needs to just be hot and sexy and please give us that, because yeah, he has the range. He really does.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go back to Gemma is back in the room with Dr. Weirdo, Dr. Maurer, and he's assessing her. He asks her if she's or how she's feeling, and she says her mouth hurts. Then he assesses if she remembers anything that takes place in the rooms she's visited. She says no, and then he asks if she feels anything in the halls after leaving the rooms, and he specifically asks if she feels anything like despair, fervor, or gaiety. Now, this I did catch. I didn't need the internet to tell me. What about you? In terms of despair, fervor, gaiety being pillars of
Oh
oh, okay.
no, and I didn't Google it. I definitely like when he said that. I was like, this probably means something, and I was like, whatever.
Chelsea's over it, ladies and gentlemen. She said,
I can't Google everything I don't understand. I would never finish the episode.
I agree with you.
Okay, so explain it to me.
You know the pillars of what are they called? I didn't even write this part down because I was like, oh, Chelsea will know what she'll catch me.
No. Mm-mm.
Let me Severance. Hold on, I'm taking a Google. The 4 tempers and 9 pillars.
Oh.
So when he said fervor, gaiety, I was like, oh, they were assessing her tempers.
Mm.
And then I mean, I feel like we all know what despair means.
Mm-hmm.
Fervor, I don't use that in my everyday language, so I googled what that meant. And okay, it means intense and passionate feeling.
Okay. That's kind of what I thought it meant, but I knew it was kind of like an intense feeling, or you did something very intensely.
Yeah. And then gaiety is like lighthearted and cheerful, like a state of being lighthearted and cheerful.
Yeah, I definitely did not know what that word was.
Neither. And also just say happy or cheerful and like.
Well, and she
is like, talk like a normal person, please. Like, what the hell are you talking about? But she then brings up she hasn't been into one room yet. She doesn't answer his question, by the way. She switches the subject and asks why she hasn't been into one room yet, and that before that day of assessment it didn't have a name on it, which I thought was purposeful that they included that in the dialogue.
Yes.
Yeah. And the room without the name that now has a name was called Harbor. And then she asks what happens once she's been in all the rooms. And Dr. Maurer says that she'll see the world again and the world will see her. But she just wants to know if she'll see Mark. So I don't give a shit about the world.
Yeah.
Like, I miss my man. I get it. Especially if you're flashing back to him looking like what he looked like, you know, the name.
Yeah, I hope he cleans up if they get to see each other again.
Yeah, because what a 180. Wow. Not like he's bad, but you know.
He's not keeping appearances up.
No, he's not. Then that's when he gets into his, I literally wrote, he gets into his cultist speak, Kier speak. What did you write?
I feel like I just said he continues with more nonsense.
That's literally it, though. And Gemma she's like us and is like, can you speak normally? Like, do you ever talk normally? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? So then, do you have anything to add about that scene?
Well, yeah, because she's like, just talk like a normal person. And he just says, good night, Gemma, dream sweet. And I'm like, so no, you can't talk like a normal person? Are you kidding me?
Honestly, Kier is the weirdest cult. Like, I don't even understand what's appealing about it. It's cold where they're at, always. It's dark or gloomy or whatever. They speak like weirdos. Like, what someone like Milchick, what enticed him?
Well, so um, one of one of my mutual Twitter people, Eric,
Mm-hmm.
who I don't know who this man is. I've never met this man in my life, but
Mm-hmm.
he started watching What We Do in the Shadows because I recommended it, and so he started watching Severance.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that he thinks that Milchek works there because they have like his family or something. So I was like,
I don't think
maybe,
so
I
at
don't
all.
know. Yeah,
Milchick doesn't even give that he has a family. Milk
because Lumen has them.
but he's not severed,
Oh, that's true.
you know?
Well, I don't know. The other thing, though, that Dr. Maurer says is because she asked if she'll see Mark, and you said that you'll see the world will see you,
Yeah.
and she asked about Mark again, and he says Mark will benefit from the world that she is siring, and
Yeah.
I'm like, what world is that? Like, what are we even talking?
Yeah, I don't know. And
Being all
again,
weird about it.
speak normally. Like, what do you mean siring?
Mm-hmm. Because doesn't that mean like to give birth or like to,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. Whatever. Also, he needs, well, we'll talk about it when we get there.
Yeah.
Um, then we have a quick scene where we see she takes a pregnancy test and it's we assume it's negative because Mark calls out to her and she like she looks back and she shuts the door.
She doesn't look very happy.
No, not at all. And it's sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was sad for them. Then we are back with Devin and Dr. R and Mark back in Mark's place. It's the morning now, which I thought was important. So we see how many hours have passed by. Devin tries to tell Dr. R about the any cabin. I'm just highlighting this conversation. There's a lot of dialogue that's happening between Dr. R and Devin. Basically, Devin tries to tell Dr. R about the any cabin because she's trying to help Mark. She's trying to make sure Mark gains conscious.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. R reveals that she already knows about the birthing retreat center. And then, okay, I do have a question for you. Why did Devin even bring up the NA cabin?
Because what she, I think, was saying is that they could take Mark there and be able to just talk to his innie, so he wouldn't have to like be severed. He could just go there. They could and talk to his
Like
innie.
like he would switch if
Yeah,
they went through like the threshold.
yeah.
Okay.
Which that's why Dr. Rugabi snaps, and she was like, "Those are two separate things. We have to do it this way." And she's holding like the box of just junk she's been using to to reintegrate Mark.
Yeah.
And
God,
Devin's
I
like,
love her.
"No."
She's like Dr. R is like the most unserious, serious person.
Yes, that's such a great
Like,
way to phrase it.
like you have such a serious mission in hand that you're trying to complete, but you're going so unserious. Anyways,
Well, and the scene ends too. I'm like,
yes,
okay, so yeah,
yes.
continue.
So then Devin suggests that they call Miss Cobell. Which where the fuck is Miss Cobell? Like,
Driving through, like speeding down a highway somewhere, trying to run over people.
yeah, I can we talk about it? Do you think we'd see her by now? I mean, we're 7 episodes in. We didn't see her. I feel like we'll see episode 3. When's the last time we saw her?
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely thought we would have seen her by now.
Yeah.
Did you write down or take note of what Dr. Rugabi says about Miss Cobell?
No, what did she say?
She said that because I thought this was really interesting. She said that she was raised by them
Yes.
and that she is a soldier.
Yeah.
So it definitely, again, is emphasizing that cult
Yes.
vibe.
Yeah, I agree with
Like
you.
it's kind of given Scientology because they have
Yeah.
like rankings and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's true. Um, Devin suggesting to call Miss Cobell was I don't think this was great writing. I thought it was totally out of character. I feel like ever since Any Mark came to be, and then that was in Devin's and Rickon's space. You know that she took her baby. There was a lot happening that I feel like also like directed Devin directly, like Miss Cobell did. So for her to easily be like, let's call Miss Cobell, I I was like, why would Devin even suggest that in the first place?
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing too. I think that the only thing I could think is that Mark's unconscious.
Mm,
She's wanting answers. She doesn't know Dr. Rugabi. She's obviously doesn't really trust her. And so I
yeah.
think in her mind, the only other person she could think of who would have answers is Miss Cobell. And she thinks Miss Cobell's left the company.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm thinking in the moment that was her logic, but I agree. I didn't love the way they did it.
No. And then also with Devin, I feel like she was more skeptical than Mark even when the whole what was that situation called? When his innies came,
The OTC.
yeah, the OTC. Since then, her radar has been. Oh, she was more clued in or clued on about it being dodgy, like Lumen being dodgy. So, but I do agree with you in regards to like maybe she thought since Miss Cobell had left Lumen, she would, yeah, wouldn't have been as infiltrated or whatever. Dr. R hates the Miss Cobell suggestion and is like, if you call her, then I'm out, and literally packs up her shit.
Yeah, like Devin doesn't actually get on the phone with her and she just like,
Yeah.
okay, well then I'm done. And she goes, this isn't my choice, it's yours. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I think it is your choice because you just chose to leave.
Yeah.
And she's like so invested in this and it's so important to her, but now she's just like, you deal with it then.
Yeah. And also, what did I feel like, do you think her and Miss Cobell know each other directly, or she's only.
Yeah, I would assume so because I mean, she said that she's the one that put the chip in Mark's
Yeah, that's fair.
brain, so I'm assuming to some degree.
Yeah, because she does not want to see Miss Cobell at all. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you blame her? No.
No.
Dr. R packs up her shit, leaves. Devin is freaking out even more. Like, what the hell? Just one phone call is going to make you, as you just said, like, quit this whole thing. Devin has no idea what her and Dr. R were even, what Mark and Dr. R were even up to up until this point. So for Dr. R to leave while the other person involved in their shit is unconscious really does leave Devin just like blind. Like, how does she handle the situation at hand with Mark even being unconscious? Will he come back unconscious? And she expresses all this to Dr. R.
And again, they have chosen not to take him to the hospital, so
They can't take him to the hospital because it'll be a Lumen hospital.
I mean, I know, but they didn't express, that wasn't a conversation. I mean, Devin in the very beginning does this like, do we need to call an ambulance? And then that ends the conversation and they don't bring it back up. I'm like, you're listening to this lady who you don't even know her credentials,
Yeah, that's fair.
who was in his basement
Right. Yeah. With like a
drilling holes in his
whole.
brain.
Yeah.
Ugh.
uh what is it called? Oh, then we ultimately see that Devin does not call Miss Cobell because she gets distracted by Mark and he's muttering something in his sleep. And we're taken to a scene with him and Devin, and he says Chikhai Bardo. I mean, him and Gemma, my bad. And he says Chikhai Bardo. And in the scene, we see the cards. Gemma holding these cards that we've seen before. In the, I didn't write, where was Bert's, the O&D? No.
Yeah, O and
Yeah, O&D
D,
card.
and it's the one that Dylan takes.
Yes. Yeah. And it's, the card is two guys fighting. In Marco's, it looks like two guys fighting. And Gemma points out it's the same guy fighting himself, defeating his own psyche, like an ego death. I feel like you have a lot to say about this.
No.
Oh, fair. Okay.
Well, okay, the whole scene I think is really interesting because obviously because she says she got this little thing in the
Yeah.
mail, and she's like, I think I got on some mailing list from the clinic.
Yes.
So obviously Lumen has sent her a package.
Yes.
She does say too, she's like, it's like those things where it either looks like a duck or a rabbit,
Yeah, which
which doctor or not doctor, Mr. Milchek has one of those in his office.
a duck and a rabbit.
Yeah, like it's a little statue of that like drawing
Ah,
that looks like, it's either a duck or a rabbit.
yeah.
So I think that's interesting. I don't
Yeah.
understand what it means. Like, I don't understand how Gemma got to Lumen.
And
They're like,
why they're interested in her. Yeah.
yeah, like, did they pick her out? Did did I want to know? Did she even actually die?
No, definitely not.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, definitely not.
And you know what I stated about 4 episodes ago? I was like, there's three things we know. Gemma died.
Yeah, and then in this episode we find out that as everything they've led us to believe about her death is false,
It,
honestly.
it's like a soap opera. Like they're just doing what there's no laws of nature
No,
to
at
abide
all.
by in this
Yeah.
show. So yeah, somebody's dead, but not really.
They come back alive just like that.
Even if there's a box of their ashes.
Honestly, though, yeah, I mean, if you're faking somebody's death, ashes is the way to, fake it.
Yeah, but I mean, Mark did say that he identified her body.
Yeah, that's the part that's.
So what about the twins thing though? Like,
Oh,
I don't know, So
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
or the only other thing I can think, and we've kind of talked about this, is that she did die, and they brought her back to life,
Yeah.
or she was like maybe on the brink of death.
Yeah. But maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Because it
I
was a
need
car accident, right?
Was it though? Because because I originally thought Mark must have been part of the accident. Like maybe he caused it, or he was
Mm, yeah.
but he wasn't even there. All we know so far is that the cops, the Kier County, country, whatever cops show
Cops.
up.
Yeah. Mm. And we all know not to
Was it all
trust them.
staged?
Definitely staged. Yeah, I agree. But to what extent was she? Was a stunt double brought in, and the stunt double was like mangled to make it look like
Ooh, ooh,
the car collision or car accident
yeah.
distorted her face so you couldn't really tell, or was she actually just like,
Mm-hmm.
did she generally have a car crash and they set it up that way? I don't know, but I had a thought. I forgot it. It's probably not important. No, it feels important. We'll come back to it.
Okay.
So they're talking about this card that's came in the mail from the clinic, the fertility clinic, and Mark is being an asshole about it, and she's like, "Why are you being an asshole?" And in this scene, I feel like, again, great writing. I feel like it's such a real depict of when a couple goes through like a hard time, that it's really, you can't blame anyone. No one is to blame, but they're both people in the situation are feeling shit and feel like they are blaming themselves and out of control, like they don't have control of the situation. And yeah, I felt like it was a great scene of the uncomfortable parts of relationships.
Yes, and I think too it shows like the conversation started off very benign, and
Yeah.
it was their argument more or less came from nothing, which
Yeah.
is often when you're in those situations and relationships how that happens.
Yeah.
And I also noted that in this scene, so this is kind of the first time we see them arguing, and the lighting, it's not cold like in the other scenes, but
Yeah.
it definitely is cooler than it has been in all the other ones.
Yeah. And I guess also this scene is important because it's showing how their fertility issues is impacting their relationship, as it would and should. We then have a montage of Gemma getting ready in the lumen floor. Like, how did you label the Gemmas?
Sad Gemma.
Okay, sad Gemma. There we go. We have the montage of sad Gemma getting ready. And she steps into another room and she's in a whole different outfit. And she steps into another room and we are taken into an airplane and the airplane's going through turbulence. And I wrote, Chelsea, any idea what this meant?
Well, so this is kind of. Did you? I thought you sent this to me, but the idea that people are floating around is that, they asked her the question about the mudslide, so they're assessing her fears, and then they're putting her through all these things that are uncomfortable, right? And
Yes.
so that's like people hate flying.
Yeah.
And so that's a place where you would want to be severed. You wouldn't want to remember those things. And so because she goes into these things, she has not a great time, and they
Yeah.
keep asking her like, "Do you remember anything about it?"
Yeah.
To confirm that like
She is
she
severed.
doesn't remember. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So this was just another test
Yes. Why
simulation.
Dr. Maurer was there as a flight attendant, I don't know. I will say in this scene, I don't think he did any funny business to her because it'd be a little hard with all the turbulence. But
Yeah. Yeah. You said soap opera before. His performance in the scene gave that.
yeah, this was like a slightly comedic
Yes.
scene, which
Yes.
was a nice relief halfway through the episode.
Yeah. I agree. Then we go from this scene to we're back underneath the MDR floor with these twins of the innies on the MDR floor. And we hear, I guess Mark's twin, is he the one who says this? Or is it not Dr. Mr. Drummond?
It's one. I mean, they're both there. They're looking at
The
Mark's
screen.
work.
Yes. And they say the cold harbor is stuck at 96%. Mark's nosebleeds set them back. And I guess that's it. And then, and then Mr. Hammond tells Dr. Maurer that he will have to say goodbye. Does he know that he'll have to say goodbye to Gemma soon for
And they said,
cure?
yeah, for cure.
Yeah.
So the two things that I wrote down for this is that we kind of known this, but obviously Lumen's still watching them, right? Because in this scene, it cuts to Mark's twin looking at Mark's computer, like where Mark would be sitting,
Yes.
like we've seen they did last season, looking
Yes.
at them. In that scene, though, Mark's not doing anything.
Pause. Do you think he's under the tent with Helly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or getting the nosebleed. It's around
One of the
then.
two. Right.
And a thought that popped up in my head, I was like, why are they in such a hurry? Because they're like, it's going to be done soon, 81%, 90%, whatever.
Yeah.
And the only thing I could think of is that they're like, at work, you get into time crunches, or you're like, your boss really hounds you, like, this needs to be done now. So I'm wondering if Jane Egan is pressuring them to finish it.
To get it done. Yeah. I mean, I would assume so. Now, why is he pressuring them? We don't know.
Yeah. And I don't understand why it has to be Mark.
I don't either.
The only thing, yeah.
I remembered what I was going to say about Gemma before.
Yes.
I think that in the fertility clinic, in the fertility clinic, because that's when we first have the sense that Lumen is now like knows about them. They take her vitals, and I really think it has something to do with her DNA or something that it was her that had to be the test subject.
Yes, but then why
Mark? That one I don't know.
I'm wondering if it's because, so in theory, we know that Mark works on the files that are named after these rooms, and he's finished them.
Yes.
And they seem like in some way they're memories for Gemma.
Yes.
And so does Mark have to do it because he was part of those memories? And so he would be able to be more attuned to the scary numbers because of that.
I like that.
Now, I'm also wondering, and I hate this theory. Have you seen the theory that Miss Wong is their
Gemma.
kid? Yeah, Mark and
Oh.
Gemma's kid.
I hold on. Hold on, sorry. Wait, no, but that's a more plausible theory than the theory I saw. I saw that Miss Huang was a younger Gemma, but that doesn't make sense. Exactly.
Which the time for I'm if they could have been doing some sketchy stuff at the fertility clinic, like because if they were doing IVF, they would have had access to the
Yeah.
sperm and the egg from both of
Yeah.
them, and because
Yeah.
you get multiple, and so they could have kept some.
Holy shit. This is the first time I'm hearing this theory, so it's really going through my mind right
Well,
now.
I was like, that's racist, guys. Like, we don't, just because she's Asian, we have to assume that she's related to Gemma.
Yeah.
But with a fertility clinic, it kind of pieced together. I was like, I could see that.
I could too.
But why? I don't know.
Yeah, I could too.
I need to stop asking why, because
I mean, but that's the point of TV shows and plots. It's like why are you making the audience care about these characters, the story, this? So I think the whys understand, and I think a show is only as good as it is because it answers the whys in a great way, in a clear way, also to the audience at the end of the day.
I don't think that they've revealed anything to us very clearly. Not even this season.
I think they have. Listen, not too much on Dan and Ben. I think they have. I also think this episode, I've written, when we come to the end, I've written what I think was revealed this episode.
Okay.
And I think it adds a lot to the story, or what could possibly happen. I mean, it's more questions, but fun questions.
Okay.
Not the nosebleed. Where were we? The plane.
Well, and then we were where they were talking about being stuck at 96%.
Oh, yes. Then after that scene, we see Devin. No, we see Gemma. Sorry, I read that wrong. Gemma get ready to go into another room, and she puts on a red wedding ring this time. And this is the funny business I feel like you were talking about, Chelsea. And we see that she's going into a room, and it's Christmas time. They're simulating that it's Christmas time, and she's writing thank you notes. And in a previous scene in this episode, her and Mark talk about how she hates writing thank you notes. Dr. Mauer, it's definitely abuse that's happening now. It's emotional abuse that's taking place. Is it also sexual? You can only assume so.
If it's not sexual, it definitely is mental, emotional abuse.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Also, this scene, I'm hoping you can help me with, because there was a lot happening. Because I felt like I couldn't tell if it was Dr. Mauer simulating a situation for his own pleasure or for the purpose of the project that is Gemma.
I assumed that the Christmas setup was intentional.
Yes.
I think he manipulated the situation for his enjoyment.
Okay.
Like, because he was just, he said, like, Christmas comes around every year.
Yes.
So he's playing the role of her husband too much, and he's doing it for his own pleasure.
Yeah. Like simulating like they're in a relationship.
Which, because at the end, he's like, I love you. And she's not responding. And he goes, I love you. And like forces her to say it. She does say it very snarkily.
Yeah.
So.
But it was such a weird scene.
Yeah.
I also did write to ask you, do you think it had a bigger purpose? Because like this Christmas scene, because it was the only simulation that we saw played out. We like the dentist one, it was a quick switch. The plane one was a little more but quick. And then this one was, there was a lot of dialogue, there was a lot of, yeah. It also kind of seemed like Gemma was there.
Yeah, because she gets very snarky at him,
Yeah,
which she hadn't really done that in
the
the
other
dentist.
rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the Wellington room.
Yeah,
Yes.
I felt the same way. I I know again if they're showing that it's part of memories, the they after this, I think it's after this, they show a little frame of her and Mark together at Christmas time, but I don't
And that's what confused me.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
okay. Okay. Well, that's all I wrote for the like, and even the switch to the scene with her and Mark at Christmas time. I yeah, I didn't write much on my notes about this.
Yeah,
Did
I
you?
didn't either.
Okay. So the next scene I wrote about was Mark is there. It's Addie. It's a flashback, and Mark has taken apart the crib, and it's showing that he's hurting and he doesn't know how to take out his hurt and frustration. So he's doing it to this object with no feelings or whatever. And we see it pan, well, not pan, but cut to Gemma's watching him do all this. And again, I think it's a really greatly written scene of kind of, first of all, how men handle or might handle going through this, like their side of it, like a fertility issue, and just the overall relationship aspect too. Did you have anything to add?
No, it was a very sad scene, but I agree it was executed so well. It felt
Yeah.
very genuine. It felt very realistic.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I guess we can talk about it after, but I do want to talk about their chemistry, like the chemistry read Dushin and Adam must have done. I I didn't think it would work when we got like flashes of her face throughout, the season, but it's amazing, honestly.
Yeah, I kind of, um, Miss Casey really hasn't, and slash Jim hasn't done anything yet in the series,
No,
and I didn't have very high hopes for when she did come around.
I agree. I think we all didn't.
Yeah, and I was just like, because she'd been such a two-dimensional character leading up to that, I just couldn't imagine it being beyond that.
Yes,
But it was so much, it was so good, so
so
good.
good. Yeah, I agree. Then we are cutting to Gemma in her apartment room on the Lehman floor that she's being held in, and Dr. Weirdo, Dr. Maurer, comes in, and Gemma says she wants to go home. No, is that? Oh
No,
no,
no, no,
it.
no. And then
Yeah,
what he says after this is,
and then she asks, oh, she wants to go home, and then he says about Mark that he is. Did she ask him about Mark, or does she just?
no, because
Okay,
I guess he just knows that like she wants to
she wants
go
to go
home because she
home.
wants to see Mark.
Yes. And Dr. Maurer responds saying that Mark is remarried now and remarried and has a daughter now.
Lies, lies, lies.
Those scenes in TV shows that you watch or even movies that you watch that you want to literally go through the screen and tell the character, like, this motherfucker is lying. Don't believe him and don't go off the deep end of your storyline. Like, stay focused. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Yeah.
yeah.
That's what I felt. And Gemma proved that she is the smart bitch that we know she is. Or I've learned that she is. And she says right away she doesn't, she says she doesn't believe him. And he then goes on to say that maybe this is so creepy. Maybe she's moved on in one of the rooms too. And maybe she's felt things that she's never felt for Mark in one of those rooms. And then I wrote, he's a creep.
Yeah, because I think he even said, and I've been there to see it or something, or like
Yeah.
something along those lines. And just, I wrote, I swear he's doing extra stuff to her in those rooms.
Yeah, we shouldn't be laughing, but yeah.
Well,
I
that's, yeah.
agree. And also in this scene, it's very clear now that he is definitely in love with her and manipulating this situation of the project that he is in charge of in regards to her. And she then knocks him out with a chair.
Yep. I said, thankfully, Jimmy uses his lack of caution to hit him over the head with a chair. And then I said, I actually wrote this, that Lucille Bluth gif where she's going, good for her.
Yeah. I like that. She escapes the room and, she's going down the hallways trying to find the elevator. And she finds the elevator and runs towards it. And then the nurse blonde lady sees her and is like, Gemma, no, or Gemma, stop. But Gemma gets in the elevator in time. Door closes. And then I wrote, Chelsea, did you think she was escaping for real?
I was very hopeful, but I did because we, weren't, I wasn't sure how her severed brain works because we know
Yes.
like each room is different and we know that up on the severed floor she's Miss Casey, but I, so yeah, I was concerned that she would get up there and she would be Miss Casey and be confused, and
Yeah.
that's what
Yes.
happens.
Yes. So she goes up the elevator. We see that she switches. Then it pans to another scene. So we don't get to see what she switches to or who she switches to. And in this scene, it's it's the final scene that we get of Mark and Gemma, like a final flashback scene of Mark and Gemma, and where their relationship was before her accident. She's going to like a friend's games night, I can only assume, and he's busy working, and I guess he's drowning himself in his work and trying to distract his emotions through his work.
Yeah, I definitely it felt at least like their relationship was improving, like they were okay working together to move on
Yeah.
from it, rebuild their relationship from this little, not little, but the all the fertility issues. But
Yeah.
you can still feel it's a little tense because he's not going with her and he's really distracted, not paying attention.
Yeah. So then when she heads out, she says to go to the games out. She says, "I love you." He doesn't say it back right away, and then she repeats it, "I love you," and he's like, "Oh yeah, I love you too. Sorry." And I didn't feel like the love was lost. I didn't feel like he felt forced to say it. I generally just felt like, yeah, they were still working through the pain of it all.
And I
Of
think it showed the contrast of, which I think is, what happens in relationships at the beginning. He was, they like were always just eye contact right with each other. And
yeah,
then the communication has kind of started to drift a little bit from
yeah,
the everything that had happened.
yeah, the hard times that come with being in a relationship with longevity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Then we switch back to Miss Casey in that elevator. Oh wait, we switch
Oh,
back to Gemma in that
yeah.
elevator, and we find out it's Miss Casey, and she walks out of the elevator, and we see the hallway, and she's walking towards a door, and that shot of the hallway. I don't know if we've ever seen it like this before, but that shot I was like Irving Strong's.
Oh, yeah.
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 Have we ever seen it like that before?
Only like once or twice in very quick flashbacks.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I think that was probably why it stuck in my head more. Like it was a long duration of a
Hmm.
shot, I
Yeah,
guess,
it's definitely the first time that we've gotten that much time in there.
with it.
Hmm.
Yes. Miss Casey's walking towards the door, and before she gets there, Mr. Milchick opens it, and I hated it. I was like, no. Um, what did I write back? Oh, he plays along in this lie that obviously the bottom floor have told him like she's escaped. So he tells Miss Casey, basically like to turn back around. And she does, but she's kind of also like questioning it.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think there is some seepage happening?
Seepage. That's a good word for it, though. I don't think from Miss Casey. I think she
No.
just was confused because she, I think probably her last memory as Miss Casey was that she was let go.
Yeah.
And so she probably was just like, why am I here?
Did they let her go or did they just send her down? Didn't they just send her down somewhere?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. But don't you think they told her that she was just being retired or whatever?
No, I thought they told. No, I don't think
Oh,
so.
yeah, maybe you're right because Miss Cobell says take her back down to testing and she's
Yeah.
standing there. So,
Yes. Yeah. Like I don't. She doesn't. She was never introduced as like having an Audi.
right.
She
Yeah.
was like introduced as like she was in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, maybe even like the first time we were introduced to her, I might have thought she was like a robot. Honestly.
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. Um. So then Gemma turns around and goes towards the elevator, and I'm like, no, this sucks. I hate
So
this
close to
for
freedom.
us. Yes. And then I feel like this is a lot of, again, directing happening by Jessica now with scene switches. And we go to Mark, and he's in his office, and he sees lights outside his house and lights from what we assume are cars. And then it's back to Gemma. She is going down the elevator. It's back at her. She's realizing that she didn't make it out. And she's back down there and she's stuck for real. Like there's no way out. And it's the most hard. Deshin will win an award.
Mm-hmm.
Whether anyone likes it or not, I'm making it happen because it is heartbreaking.
It
What?
is. And
Yeah.
because all she says is Mark. She's just like,
Yeah.
Mark, Mark,
Yeah.
Mark.
It
So sad. All she wants
is
is
very
Mark.
sad. I know.
Yeah.
Um, and then it goes back to Mark, and he's walking towards the door to meet the cops or the Lumen cops or whoever is out there. Who knows? Miss Cobell, Jesus himself. Who knows?
Oh my God. What if it was Miss Cobell in a
That
police
would be
uniform?
so funny. That'd be so funny. Honestly, it would be. Uh, and then it switches back to Gemma, and she is holding herself. I thought this was very important. Like she was the only time we see her kind of like crouching down in that sort of position was when she was miscarrying in the bathroom, and she's holding herself in a similar position. And I think contrasting those two scenes is kind of just loss, right? Like the loss of the baby and all like the future that would have brought, and then the loss of the future, like escaping really the
Mm-hmm.
possibility of it all. And then Jessica does this really cool thing where we see Mark and Gemma kind of, not kind of, but like face each other, but it's not true. And that also tripped me up though. I was like,
Yeah, there was at some point in these back and forth, I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's, in the opening scene or like the title scene, we see the back of Mark's head and then like the hands are coming
mm-hmm,
out.
mm-hmm,
Well, we see the back of Mark's head and it's like superimposed with Gemma in the elevator for like a hot
okay,
second. So
mm-hmm,
as they're like transitioning,
yeah,
and so the imagery really, I felt like mimicked the title sequences and just
yeah,
kind of like, and it was almost like in the same place where he'd been severed. I don't know. It was just a very interesting visual that I think she brought together.
yes, I agree. So then after these scene switches, we're back to Mark and Devin in his Lumen apartment or house, a house on apartment, and he is waking up. And Devin sees that he's waking up and is like, "Oh my gosh!" and takes him a minute, And I immediately think that it's any Mark. What about you?
Oh, I think he's just fully reintegrated.
So it's Audi Mark, but with both, like,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
Because when he comes to, he starts crying, I think because he's gone through all these memories of
Mm-hmm.
Gemma. And also the lighting on his face is very warm lighting. And so it feels kind of like he's had a realization.
Yeah.
Things are coming to light, and maybe
Clarity.
even like like a little bit of happiness is returning back into him.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I like that. I could be on board with that. I guess my only hesitation of why I felt like it was his innie is the way he was looking around his space.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he was unconscious, so maybe he thought he died and he was like, is this heaven? Or, you know what I mean?
He probably had some brain damage during
Yeah.
the whole thing. There's no way that at least a concussion. Come on. Yeah,
Yeah.
he fell and hit his head, and they like aren't worried. All Dr. Rugabi did was like check his pupils for being reactive to light.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, the fact that they moved him to the couch kills me because I was like,
And
wait,
she's giving
what?
him fluids. Where did that IV bag even
Wait,
come from?
honestly, the little was that even down there? I don't remember seeing that in her equipment of doctor stuff that she does.
I mean, I know that like that is a thing, but it just feels so unprofessional, so yeah,
Yeah, I
haphazard.
agree. I agree. I agree with you. And that is basically the end of the scene. He wakes up and Devin asks Mark, "Where'd you go?"
Hmm.
And the scene ends there.
All right, so you tell me what you think we got from this episode.
The main thing I think we got from this episode is Irving. Has Irving been down on that floor? Where did Irving come, or does he know somebody that's been down
Hmm.
on that floor?
Yeah, that is because we've talked about that a little bit, but really was re-emphasized
Yeah,
in
because he
this
calls this mysterious person in these in the, what do you guys call them, telephone booths?
telephone booths. Yeah.
um, and I'm thinking the person on the other end was down there before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And somehow Irving got to know them, and or maybe they found Irving, or maybe that's why Irving decided to get severed. But that image of, or that shot of Miss Casey walking out of the elevator with the red arrow being on and the black hallway, and the fact that we've seen that drawing so much from Irving, and the fact that this season has been being Irving heavy, then makes me think, oh, Irving has something to do with down there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think in a good way though.
Yes, I agree.
We didn't. I don't think we mentioned this when we talked about the last episode because it was interesting as well. Before Irving goes to dinner to Bert's, he takes down all the paintings,
Yes.
and then we know that Mr. Drummond comes in. I don't know if he knew he was coming in, but it definitely felt
Yeah.
like he was either taking him down to separate himself from the situation because he was like maybe tired since he wasn't at Lumen anymore. He's like,
Mm.
maybe I need to be done with this.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe he knew Mr. Drummond was coming and he's like, I need to clear out this evidence.
Yeah, I agree with that. Or, he's just hiding his evidence regardless of who comes in or out of it.
Yeah.
Just hiding his shit.
He probably
Yeah.
knows that, like Lumen, anybody
It's
from Lumen could come
watching.
in. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think he's done with it. But I do think, I don't know. I think Irving comes into play with Gemma being saved, if that is what happens with
Mm-hmm.
her. And that's an answer I think we got from this.
Well, sure. I'll give you that.
Possibility of an answer. And I feel like we haven't had much.
Well, and at the beginning, I was like, let's just rely on the facts we know. But now as I said, we don't know any. There are no facts in this show.
Yeah, I
So
agree. I
yeah.
fully agree.
Well, do you have any idea like? So okay, so those episode 7, we got 3 more.
Yes.
And I don't. There. Do you think Mark's gonna see Gemma?
I couldn't tell you that. I don't think anyone should be guessing that. I think you're far too down the rabbit hole if you start guessing that. Like, no, I don't. Do you? And then I go back to ask you that.
I could see it happening by the last episode.
Mm.
And it probably would be like the end of last season. He's in the elevator, she's in the hallway, and they like see each other and then cut to black, end of
Mm.
season.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because now he is fully reintegrated.
Mm-hmm. Or I'm assuming that he is based on
Yeah.
her saying, Dr. Gabi saying that he's journeying and like he'll come awake whenever he's ready or
Yeah.
whatever
I
it
get
was.
that.
So it seems like she kind of, despite her unprofessionalism, understood what was happening. So it wasn't the first time, I guess.
She doctored. She fixed him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, but here's the thing with the reintegration. So, Audi Mark is reintegrated. How does that work when he's down there? Any Mark? Do we even know?
Well, I don't.
Yet?
So I don't think the way that I envision it is that he doesn't change. Like he's just one person now, and so I think if they like flooded the chip out, maybe the chip's all the way gone. So like there won't be.
A switch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so he's not severed anymore.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so. If he's like fully reintegrated, I don't think
Yeah.
he's severed at all anymore. So
Okay.
he will have, and now he has both of those memories
And
set together. And
yeah.
so when he does go down, though, he will know, oh, I need to find Gemma. This is what I'm looking for.
Yes.
And he'll actually be able to start doing stuff.
Yeah. That is going to be very interesting if, it plays out this way to see Adam Scott act out, because then we essentially have any Mark having to, or reintegrated Mark having to pretend he's still any Mark, right? Like we talked about, a character having all these different characters within them. And I feel like Addie Mark and Any Mark were so well crafted by Adam Scott that if he's now reintegrated, I'm very excited to see how he makes that happen or work, or how he chooses to deceive the Any world, Lumen.
And how he interacts with Helly.
Yes.
Do you think so?
Shit.
We've had
Shit.
we've had Any Mark have sex with Helena. We've had Any Mark have sex with Helly. Now, are we going to have Audi Mark have sex with both of them?
That's funny. What do you call like flashback Gemma, sad Gemma, and
Yeah.
Any Gemma?
Okay. Also, did you see the tweet? You remember on the first episode where Milchek is saying that Miss Cobell was trying to have a throuple with
Yes.
Any Mark and Audi Mark, and somebody was like, "Who knew this was about Helena the whole entire time?"
Yeah. I didn't see that. So funny.
It's good. Good.
Yeah, I hope integrated. Yeah, how will fuck? I don't know. I hope he doesn't sleep with Helly but he has all these emotions for her, because if he's integrated, he does feel what Any Mark felt.
Mm-hmm.
I think he will.
You think? Because I would think that his long-term emotional connection and memories with Gemma would overtake that, right?
Yeah, yeah. Especially because like how their relationship ended, right? I feel like from this episode, you could see why he was so depressed, like had no will to live, crying every day, like just full on despair. I feel like he felt like he could have responded better to her while she was, it was just like a lot of regret, maybe, and a lot of self-blame too.
Well, and he, at the beginning of the last episode, when he was talking to Dr. Ragabi about seeing Gemma, he talked about like the bargaining stage and how
Yes.
he, everybody, like you say, I would do anything. I would change anything about myself to be able to be with this person again. And he's like,
Yeah.
and I'm getting that chance.
Yeah, that's such a great point.
And so I can't imagine that he is going to fuck it
has
up.
that chance.
Now, Helen is probably going to fuck something up.
100%.
Helly, I think that's just going to cause tension.
Yeah, I agree.
Not necessarily like bad tension, but it's going to
awkwardness.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he's going to tell her that he's reintegrated. He can't.
No.
It's too much of a risk.
No,
he can't tell
can't.
anybody. It's way too much of a risk.
Yeah.
So even if she might think he's acting weird, you know, he can't. Yeah. If he does act weird.
So I think that will just kind of cause these roadblocks or bumps as he's trying to get to Gemma. Because obviously that's what he's going to do at this point, right?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, that is, I feel like the point of the show, right? After season 1 reveal of like, oh, that's my wife, and now it's like, let's go save my wife is season 2's whole deal.
I'm so, but you know what happens when you assume.
So. We have definitely looked like asses on this podcast throughout the season.
Boy, howdy. Yeah, I'm done saying anything with confidence.
No, don't let them take this away from you.
Although I think I said something this episode that I was like, this 100%. Is for sure what's happening.
It's part of our personality, honestly.
Hi, Penny. Dog's trying to get in. Can you see her?
Yes, you can come in. Do you have anything to add? Oh, no, she's like, it hurts me as much as it hurts hurting you guys.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. I guess. I guess the next episode.
I don't know. And then when you think about it, there's still so much story left with freaking Dylan and his wife. Like, why did they even introduce that when we already got so much going on?
Well, we really refer to a lot of tweets on here. There's another tweet of somebody that was like somebody adding check marks or tallies on a whiteboard, and it was like the writers of Severance just adding more trauma for all the characters. And it's so honestly, true.
It is. I agree. And then we got Irving and Bert. That also has to play out.
Miss Cobell.
Does she come back?
We haven't seen Milchek in a while. I feel like he's going to rebel to some extent.
Yeah, because he's also had like a strong storyline in this season. Yeah, I agree. I had a question to ask you. Do you still think the innies outies are going to meet at some point this season? Is that even a need at this point?
Well, I definitely think I think at least Mark, because he's fully integrated, will probably, since he'll know whose coworkers are, maybe try and contact them on the outside.
Yeah.
So I originally was envisioning all of them together somehow, but I don't think that'll happen, especially in 3 episodes. There's too much to happen, but I think there's still potential for Mark
to meet one of the coworkers on the outside. I agree with that.
Probably Irving, right?
I feel like that's the most trusting outie. Yeah. I feel like Dylan, his outie, will either not care or will snitch or will.
Which is so funny because he's such like a solid friend down there.
I know. Yeah. God. Anyways, yeah, the last 3 episodes might just hurt to watch.
Why would you say that?
Because that's what it's giving.
Apple TV tweeted something about a teaser for next Friday's episode.
Already?
Like, yeah, it said, I'm going to pull it up because I quoted it because it was, and I thought it was weird too because they posted it on Saturday or something. Yeah, yesterday. It says, I'll be seeing you in all the unfamiliar places. And then it's all these photos of Gemma. And I said, stop threatening me, Apple. I feel threatened at this point.
I do too. Like, it's feeling like direct harm, like personal. Yes. And you don't even know me. Why are you doing this to me? You know? Like, are you trying to prove I'm dumb, that I'm stupid, that I know nothing?
We've already proven that for ourselves. Yes. You know, we really could have just kept our mouth shut, just enjoyed the show, and done this recap. And now we've revealed to the world how dumb we are.
That's okay. I think there's beauty in vulnerability, you know?
That's true. Okay,
well, that's it We will see you guys. Is that it from you? Sorry.
Yeah,
should've
no, I
asked.
mean, I don't know what else there is to say.
I feel like I'm done saying shit about this show right now.
Yeah. Well, I did want to say, because I said that we would mention this, that so next week we're going to have our SRE, which is what I'm labeling the recap episodes for
Yes.
Severance Recap Experience.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yes.
you'll join us next week for SRE.
SRE on episode 8.
Yes. Yep.
Love that. Okay. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Are you watching this?